What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Aaron X, and this is, of course, the Wrestle Plug YouTube channel. I'm here to give you my predictions for tonight's Impact Wrestling Sacrifice. I say tonight because it'll most likely be dropped on a Saturday, but if you're watching this a little bit earlier, then hooray! But Impact Wrestling Sacrifice is, of course, this Saturday night, aka tonight. It's going to be on Impact Plus. Now, before I lay down my predictions, you may have noticed this gorgeous little number on my head. This is from Refuse to Conform Clothing. Now, this isn't an official sponsor. This is just somebody that I love in terms of merchandise. They're very open and honest about promoting sexuality and equality. And of course, you can check them out at refusetoconformclothing.co.uk. And if you use the code AARONNIX, which is of course my name, all capitals, and I'll put that up on the screen for you, you can get 10% off your order. And I highly recommend that you do so because they really have some sweet gear. They've got a lot of great items, not just hats. They've got great t-shirts, they've got great jewelry. I honestly cannot recommend it enough. And it's an independent company as well, working out of my beautiful home county of Lincolnshire. So I couldn't recommend them enough. And as you guys know, I'm very straight shooting, and if I think something's crap, I'll tell you it's crap. These guys are not crap. These guys are high quality and they deserve your love, and of course they deserve your business as well, and your money will be well spent. Now then, Impact Wrestling Sacrifice. Havoc and Nevaeh teaming up to take on Tenille Dashwood and Caleb with a K. And obviously I want Havoc and Nevaeh to win, but they have been teasing a split up, so to speak, although Nevaeh did come down and help Jessica a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully this is going to be a half decent match. I'm not a fan of Caleb Conley with a K. I think he's a bit of a douche, but that's what I'm supposed to think. I am a sweaty mark. But I want to see Havoc and Nevaeh win this. I think that their tag team division especially badly needs some more fairly legitimate tag teams, and these two feel like a legitimate tag team. And of course, with the women's tag titles, the knockout tag titles on the line later in the show, you got to think that it's not really going to make sense if you break up the only other viable team outside of the two that are competing. Now, obviously, I've just mentioned it. The Impact Knockout Tag Team Championships will be on the line. Jordynne Grace and Jazz challenging Fire and Flavor, Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. This is a tough one to call, to be fair, because Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan, Fire and Flavor, still relatively new in terms of their tag team title run. However, Jordynne Grace and Jazz, we're talking about legends here. Now, if they hadn't already had a match at No Surrender, I maybe would have lent towards the idea of the two combustible elements clashing into each other, obviously costing themselves the title opportunity, and then moving forward, they would have their singles match or their little rivalry. But they've already kind of done that, so I'm going to stick my neck out and say that Grace and Jazz win. I think Fire and Flavor are a slightly better tag team. Neither of them are my favourite tag teams. I think that these are actually better singles wrestlers. But one thing I do like about Fire and Flavor is they've got great chemistry and they're very, very entertaining. So fingers crossed it's going to live up to its somewhat of a hype. And it's always great to see Jazz, even though she's a little bit long in the tooth in terms of wrestlers. She can still go to a certain extent, but she's obviously not the Leviathan that she used to be. So it's just nice to really enjoy seeing Jazz wrestle while we still can. Sticking with tag team action, and there's a lot of it on this card as well, and I'm quite pleased about that because, as you guys know, I love proper good tag team wrestling. We have the wonderful team of James Storm and Chris Sabin taking on Violent by Design's Joe Doering and Cody Deaner, with Eric Young, I believe, at ringside. And to counteract that, James Storm and Chris Sabin will have Jake Something in their corner. And if you ask me, that's a bit of an upgrade. I'm going to go with the faces here. Violent by Design getting somewhat of a push. Although, that being said, Cody Deaner did lose the big match to Jake Something. I don't think they really know what they're doing with these guys. I really like Eric Young. I feel like the other two guys, they don't drag him down because I think that's unfair because everybody involved in this faction are really, really great wrestlers. I just don't think there's a good chemistry here. They've got somewhat of a presence. They're not terrible. I actually think Eric Young's much better on his own, to be honest. I didn't mind Joe Doering being a heavy hitter. Nothing against Cody Deaner, but as soon as he brought in, all of a sudden it just felt like a bit of a cull. You've already got similar teams like this already as well. Obviously, you've got Team Decay, you've got Reno Scum, you've got Triple XL. Obviously, they're not entirely the same, but they follow the similar kind of premise of being a unit, being a faction, being like a pack of dogs. So I'm not overly enthralled with everything that's going on here. And obviously, I'm going to have to root for my boy James Storm because I love James Storm. Sorry about your damn luck. Yes, indeed. Sorry about your damn luck in the gimmick pool, Mr. Young. I feel like there's more potential for Eric Young here, and we're not getting to see enough of it right now. Eddie Edwards versus Brian Myers. Again. This is going to be in a hold harmless match. What that actually means is that there is no rules. Just call it a no DQ, okay? Stop trying to be clever. Oh, it's an unsanctioned match because that way we can get around the lawyers, whatever. I don't care about this match. I've grown very tired of Eddie Edwards and his Tommy Dreamer cosplay shtick. It's a shame because I actually love him. And to be fair, their match on Impact was really good. So if they can channel that with a little bit more on top of it, I'm sure it'll be great. But it's very hard to get emotionally invested in this stuff. Again, you got to think maybe Brian Myers is going to have some sort of involvement with Matt Cardona. I still smell a heel turn at some point. Maybe they're putting it off or bringing these two back together. It kind of makes sense. You've got them in the same promotion. And to be honest, I don't think people care enough about them as single stars. But if you put them back together, people will be able to sort of see them as, they were a tag team in WWE. Hawkins and Ryder, the Edgeheads, we kind of recognise them. They were on mainstream TV, even if they weren't necessarily a massive draw. So I'll go with Brian Myers because it seems like he keeps getting the short end of the stick, and I'm expecting some sort of shenanigans here. So maybe Matt Cardona interferes and costs Eddie Edwards, whether that be on purpose or not. Now then, Decay versus Reno Scum. I actually think this is going to be really good. It's Black Taurus and Crazy Steve representing Decay as well, with Rosemary at ringside. And I actually really like their little promo on Impact this past week. And Rosemary's like, oh my, how juicy and delicious. She almost got excited about the premise of Reno Scum not being gentlemen like Larry D, who said he wouldn't strike her because she was a woman. I obviously feel that Decay would probably win a contest like this, but I feel like Reno Scum deserve it more, and I think they need it more. But that being said, I love Black Taurus. I really think they've got something special in this guy, and I'd like to see him pushed and end up with some sort of heavyweight gold. It would actually be very cool to see Decay get back into the tag team title hunt, because that's where they were most well known, particularly with the original iteration of Decay, which of course was Abyss and Crazy Steve, and their incredible rivalry with the Hardys. Who can forget it? Yes, I do like some fun in my wrestling, and I love myself some Broken Hardys and Final Deletion matches and cinematic classics of that nature. So, be interested to see what happens. I think Decay will win, but I'd like to see Reno Scum win, because I actually think they've got a lot of potential. I like their look. There's nobody else I know that looks like Reno Scum, and for that reason, it would be very nice to see them get the push. Now, the match that I'm most looking forward to, and I expect to be an absolute barn burner, is the X Division Championship. TJP defends his title against Ace Austin. I have got Ace Austin coming out of this with the win. Just because there's a lot of guys lining up to be contenders. Now, every time I pick against TJP, he always wins. And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of TJP. I love him. I think he's one of the smoothest and coolest wrestlers going. He's so smooth in the ring as well, phrasing, boom. He's just fluid in the way he works. And his match with Josh Alexander really proved to everybody what he and Josh Alexander are all about. But I feel that Josh Alexander would benefit more from taking down someone like Ace Austin with Madman Fulton in his corner. They've made Ace Austin jump through quite a lot of hoops to get to this point. He also weirdly lost to Chris Bay on Impact. I don't mind that. I love Chris Bay. Very strange booking decision when you consider you're only 3 or 4 days away from a pay-per-view. But I expect this to be the absolute show stealer. I really do. I think this has got world class written all over it. And it's not the only one as well. There are 2 other matches on here that could potentially be 4 or 5 star instant classics, and I'm super excited to see how they play out. But I'm going to stick my neck out and say that we get a new X Division champion as we build towards Rebellion coming out of this pay-per-view. Now then, a couple of lads who are obviously going to factor into Rebellion quite a bit are the Good Brothers. And they're going to be defending their Impact Tag Team Championships against the former Young Lions and now equals, so to speak, in Finjuice, Juice Robinson and David Finlay. This, again, is going to be fantastic because you've got 2 teams who know how to work the NJPW style, they know how to work strong style. They're just very seasoned, world-class professionals. And of course, what's great about this match is you've got the Good Brothers who do the sports entertainment stuff and the hilarious pro wrestling stuff, just as well as they do the serious Japanese stuff. And then you've got Finjuice, who are actually a bit of an anomaly because there aren't that many ridiculously entertaining tag teams in New Japan. I feel like their tag team division especially is quite serious, takes itself very seriously. And I think that's good because it gives you an opportunity to see a different product. But these guys have really broken out in New Japan as the more charismatic, colourful pairing. So I'm actually really looking forward to this match. I think the Good Brothers retain. I don't think it really makes sense once again with an AEW crossover potential coming up, particularly at Rebellion. Don't see why the Good Brothers would drop the belts to Finjuice, but it will be a fantastic platform to see Finjuice. I really hope that people give this pay-per-view an opportunity because something like this match could genuinely blow up and be a huge deal. And you've got to feel that if this was on Dynamite or if it was on NXT or a WWE pay-per-view or even in New Japan, it would have good eyeballs on it. So I want people to kind of get their heads out of the gutter a bit, stop banging on about this dumb shit Wednesday Night War comparison and everything else, and actually pay attention to Impact Wrestling because they're putting on some of the best wrestling in the world right now. I really believe that, and they've got some of the talents to back it up. And people losing their shit over at AEW about Ethan Page tipping up, well, Impact were the first real platform to give him mainstream success, and that tells you everything you need to know about Impact. So if you like guys like Ethan Page, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be tuning in on a Tuesday night when there isn't any other good wrestling on to check out your boys at Impact Wrestling. And I genuinely think Sacrifice is going to be fucking awesome. This is main event worthy, but it probably won't be the main event because of what's on the line in the men's title match. But the women's championship is going to be on the line. Deonna Purrazzo will be defending against the classic that is ODB. This is going to be very similar to Rich Swann versus Tommy Dreamer. The plucky young champion, the physical embodiment of perfection is Deonna Purrazzo against the, much older veteran, but still got plenty in the tank, ODB. And I actually think she's got more in the tank than Tommy Dreamer has. Bam! Loving that chest, madam. As a man with an ample chest myself, I appreciate ODB's game, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this match pans out. I really hope this is going to be a proper hard-working match. Deonna Purrazzo gets the best matches out of women, and I feel like she is so underutilized despite being their champion in this company. So really hoping that they're going to give these women the time and a platform that they deserve. And how refreshing and cool is it that you've got 3 matches with women on the card? I watched AEW. Now, with all due respect, it was a good show, but they only had 1 women's match. I know they had one on the buy-in, but come on, it's the pre-show. Nobody cares about that stuff. Obviously not. Otherwise, it would be on the main show, wouldn't it? Simple as that. So it is really refreshing to see that the women have quite a good handle on this card, and that's something that I think Impact aren't going to back away from. And they're very proud of their Knockouts division, and I'm very proud of it too, and I really, really enjoy watching it. Now, the main event is obviously what everybody's going to be watching for. It's the match I'm most excited for. I think these are 2 of the best standout wrestlers I've seen in the last couple of years. I think Rich Swann has been an absolute revelation as the Impact Wrestling champion. I think Moose picking up that TNA World Heavyweight title, becoming slightly more serious, coming out of his rivalry of EC3, becoming the suit-wearing heir to the throne, so to speak, the man who believes it's his time. I think it's a perfect collision. I think the promos, the editing, everything that's gone into this feels big time, big pay-per-view. And of course, the winner of this is going to be a unified champion because both belts are on the line. The TNA World Heavyweight Championship and of course the Impact World Wrestling Championship. They'll be unified into one. Shame really, because I really love that TNA belt and I think it's a very sexy looking piece. And of course it looks fantastic around the waist of Moose, who you heard it here first. 2021. He's going to be huge. It's going to be a huge year for Moose. We saw what he could do with the AEW talents at Hard to Kill. I think he totally outshone everybody else, and I think he's definitely on a path here. I've got Moose winning this match, becoming the unified champion. However, obviously, with the winner facing Kenny Omega, who is a super, super, super dork heel, you got to think that Rich Swann would make sense. But I'm going to stick with Moose. I don't see the point of having Moose lose unless he's moving on to greener pastures. I don't know. Maybe if Moose loses this, maybe he's going to move on. Maybe AEW are actually going to use him more. It would be a very good storytelling piece, actually, if Moose lost and then found himself so disenchanted and so angry with Impact Wrestling that he jumped ship and caused mayhem. Maybe he costs Rich Swann the title at Rebellion. That's how they get the belt onto Kenny Omega, because rather sadly, I feel Kenny Omega is going to win irregardless of who he faces. I don't personally think that's a very good idea. I don't think it's a good booking decision. I think that it would actually make a lot more traction for the company, particularly Impact, if the champion retained and then showed up on AEW, because then it brings more eyeballs onto Impact. Because let's be honest, AEW doesn't need anything here. AEW's already got its fan base, it's already got its big TV deal, it's already got its big money stars with their big money contracts and TNT and ex-WWE guys. Impact definitely needs the rub more, despite the fact it's been trending in an upwards direction for so long. So it'd be interesting to see what comes out. But hey, that's Rebellion. That's booking for another time. And obviously I'm going to discuss that ad nauseum on the podcast going forward. But as much as I feel that Rich Swann is going to retain, I'm still going to stick with my confident pick, which is Moose, because he is such a huge deal, and I really do believe he's going to be the big breakout star of 2021 and beyond. So that's it for the predictions, ladies and gentlemen. Why don't you let me know in the comments below who you think is going to win all of those fantastic matches that I have mentioned. And of course, don't forget prowrestlingtees.com/wrestleplug and wrestleplug.bigcartel.com if you want to buy yourself a snazzy t-shirt. And of course, that code once again for anything from the Refuse to Conform clothing line is Aaron Nix, all capitals, one word. And of course, I shall make sure it's up on the screen right now so you can remember it. But from myself, Aaron Nix, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you very soon for more content from the Wrestle Plug.